Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris and this is Restoration Rescue. So last week we went in and put the nose panel for the hood on. And now we are going to do something that I have been kind of dreading all week. So we have a lot of rust still on this brace. We have gotten one whole side done. I did a lot off camera to get the one side all the way up to the dead center ready. Now we're going to take care of that dead center, and that is what I'm worried about. That is the only piece on this truck right now that I am worried about for this brace, at least. We haven't gotten the doors, so I'm still worried about that, but we haven't made it that far. So what we are going to do today is we are going to try and cut this panel out and remake it. So let's hop on down in here and take a look at the damage. So right here is our bad spot. So you can see right here, I have a hole. And just to let you know, that's not supposed to be there. So what we need to do is I'm going to cut down here because we're going to replace this upper piece as well. If I lift it up a little bit, you can see that there are two panels that are clamped together. So I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice here and I'm going to slice up into here. We have done all of this all over here, so this is good metal. I have no worries up until about right here. So I'm going to probably cut straight down again, and then across here. We need to work on separating this panel and getting it set and ready so that I can start patching in some new metal or even having to make a brand new piece for here. We see some spot weld, so I might be able to spot weld and get this out. But let's go ahead and start working on taking this thing apart so we can put in some brand new, beautiful metal. So I have that panel cut out, and now what do we need to do is make it over again. Now, this is two pieces put together. So the way I'm going to handle this, and it's going to be a little bit difficult, is to make the interior panel first, weld that in, and then work on making this piece. This is the piece that I'm most worried about, especially with those curves and whatnot, and the curve here, and it just folds itself over. Wish I had a stamp that would make this life really, really easy of this panel already, and I could order it. But the problem is nobody makes this panel, even though it does rust a lot. If I wanted to buy just this, I'd have to buy a whole new hood. And I'm not willing to put $1,300 down on a brand new hood when I've already done all of this work. Now, that would have come with a complete front brace, pretty much all done, and I would have just had to throw it on the truck. But that's no fun when I can save this with a little bit of metal. So I do have plenty of sheet metal that I can cut up and put into this truck. And that's what we're going to do. So I need to figure out, and I kind of want to get this spaced out where this part is flat. I wish I could get this cut off, but I know that once I start messing around and trying to get it peeled off, this is just going to rot away, especially since if I just push on this here, it already starts to break. So I need to make this top panel first. So the interior panel is what we're going to aim for first. Yes, it has this curve and indentation. I'm not worried about that. And I did cut it at a pretty good angle. Again, things that I'm not really worried about because we've done this before. So what we're going to do is we're going to hop over to this piece of metal over here. I'm going to work on making a piece. So I'm going to make it, when I cut it, you're going to see it's huge. And then I'm going to grind it back and we're going to work on getting it welded in. This video, we're going to go a little bit more step by step on how to make this patch panel and make patch panels, period. I think that's important to learn, especially in the welding. I probably should have done it when we were doing the floors, But again, this has all been a learning experience. I didn't really know what I was doing back then. Still don't really know what I'm doing now, but we're going to get this panel made. So let's go ahead, get over to the piece of metal, and start doing some cutting. So after some templating and some cutting, grinding, bending, and smacking with the good old hammer, we have got this panel pretty much where it needs to go. So what we need to do now is just start welding it in. So it does come out pretty good. We still have some trimming down here to do. That I'm not worried about. That can be handled some other time. Got a little bit of a hole that formed over here that we're going to have to take care of as well. I'm not worried again about that. Just got a good grinding, and there's a small hole. So we'll fill that up. We have to get this thing patched in. So as you see, I even was able to get pretty much the bends where they need to go, maybe a little bit too much of a bend on this side. But once we start welding it in, the panel will come along and I can start metal beating it where it needs to go. So let's go ahead, start laying some tack welds in, get this thing welded where it needs to go so we can start making this other patch panel and get this thing all together. Now, again, this secondary one is going to be a little bit more of a pain with the bends and everything that's going on in it. It's going to be a little bit of a pain, especially since I have to make this panel, bend this over, and then flatten this one. Would be really, really, really nice if they just made this panel. So shout out to like LMC Trucks, AMD Direct, if they could make this whole thing a patch panel so this hood could, because I know everyone on earth is rusting out under here, because if you're rusting out on that bottom panel, it's coming from the inside of this. So once we get this in, we're going to work on this other panel. So let's go ahead and start welding this panel in, getting it where it needs to go, getting this thing set up, and then building this second panel. So that panel just needs to be welded in the rest of the way. We even have the curve on the bottom. So this I have made, it's not perfect. This has a little bit more of a curve. There's really nothing that this panel is going to do. This panel, I think, already will miss this because it's comes straight out up to here. If it does, I'm just going to have to come back in here and start grinding it back a little bit. Not a big deal. But now what we're going to do is we're going to finish welding this in so you guys get to see some magic of welding and grinding and welding and grinding to get this thing in where it needs to go. Then we're going to come around and we're going to start building this piece. Now, as I've been thinking about it, I think I want to do it in multiple steps. I may cut this panel off and save the bottom. The bottom is in pretty good health, but at the same time, why put in old metal when I can just put in brand new stuff? So I'm going to make it in a couple different pieces. So this piece is easy, just a flat piece of metal and good. Now here we have to make an edge on this. We have to make an edge that goes like this. And we have to make a little bit of an edge over here. Then we have to work down and make that bubble that's in here. So this panel is going to be a little bit rough. So I may make a panel, a flat panel, weld it, make a panel, weld it, make a panel, weld it until it's all perfect. And again, I may start this. What I'm actually worried about, the worst part of this, and I'm sorry for that like momentary lapse in brain power, is I was thinking, is this right here is going to be our biggest hurdle. That curve and making sure that it lines up absolutely perfect with this other panel is what scares me. The curve is really, really hard, and to make that is going to be a little bit difficult. So we might start off down here making small pieces, building it up so that literally all I have to do is make a flat panel and then put a cap on it. So what I'm going to do now, though, is we're going to weld this thing back up, get this panel where it needs to be, and make this thing look beautiful. Get it ground down, make it look perfect. So let's go ahead and lay some welds. So that panel is in and looking pretty good so far. I was able to break off the little welds, the spot welds for this panel, and get it apart. So now we have this other panel, which I had started to cut for the other one, but I screwed it up, and it actually works out quite well. So it has the right curve on it, so already starting with the curve, and it already lines up perfect. So now what we need to do is I need to start getting this metal bent and getting it where it needs to go. So we're going to go over to the vise. I'm going to start putting this in. So I'm going to leave the curve at the top open because I'm going to build that into the cap piece. as you can kind of see. So this panel obviously needs to come back and over some more, and I need to work on metal beating it so it curves. This is going to make this panel so much easier. I'm actually really pumped that this is actually going to turn out okay. I'm not scared of this now as much, especially since I've already kind of seen that I can cut this off and make this flat. So now what we need to do is get this thing over to the vise and start doing some metal beating. So after all of that, we ended up having to make small patches to get it complete. It didn't come out as great as I would hope. It still looks good, I have no problems with it. The panel came out pretty good anyway. Yes, it doesn't look perfect. It doesn't look like it was OEM. Definitely not professional. I do need to get back in here, grind a lot more away to make it look smooth and look like it was there from the factory. It's very tough making panels like this. This panel was pretty rusted. I don't have bending tools, just a hammer and a dolly, and that's how I'm making a lot of these panels. So they don't always come out perfect, but as you can see, we still have a long way to go before this is ready. But I'm not really going to show you a lot more on this panel, as it's really getting mundane. I went and I showed you the hardest part that I made, which was this, and this panel was very difficult. A lot of metal beating, a lot of getting it in the right spot, making panels, making it look good. I'm very impressed with what I've done. You can see I started over here. We've done a lot of patching over here. I need to grind a lot more. I have a whole panel from pretty much here to here that I need to make and get that set up. You guys obviously won't see that because I really don't want to bore you guys to death. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. We've done a lot of work in the 2.5 years that we've been going at it. It's about 3 months away from our anniversary of starting this truck, which was like April 12th, I believe. It's been a long journey, and a very, very fun journey, and a lot of pain. As always, I've been cut, which means it's a successful project today, but we have run out of time this week. Hopefully next week we'll be throwing this panel in, as I'm going to do a lot of work off camera to get this panel set to go back in. We're going to prime it. We're going to prime this. We're going to prime the front end of this hood, get this in so that when I go to paint, I just paint over everything and I don't have to do it in pieces. And we still have that panel over there on the hood actually to finish. I've been completely lazy and been focusing on this. So we have done a lot today. It may not seem like a lot, but building a panel from scratch and cutting and bending and doing a lot like that is very tricky. But again, we have run out of time this week. We'll see you guys next Saturday when we continue working on the C10. Still have to get the 454 project going. We have a lot of things coming to this channel, but we'll see you guys next Saturday. And make sure that you comment, like, and subscribe to the video so you don't miss out any more amazing content. And we'll see you next Saturday.